I love theme parks. Growing up in Europe, I was fortunate enough to be taken to a good many of them, and my love for them has never ceased. It's probably one of the reasons why I became an architect. Well, whatever the reason may be, the year is 1999 and the first ever RollerCoaster Tycoon hits the PC. In one word, revelation. It is the game I, and with me, many around the world were waiting for, even though we never asked. It brought with it a kind of freedom that was unheard of. Build the theme park of your dreams, and as time goes on, see it go down the drain by building impossible roller coasters and literally see people crash and burn. And here we are 20 years later with the latest release in the franchise for the Nintendo Switch in RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures. Atari sent me over this review copy to check out, and well, there is a lot to go over. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I've got a couple of Switch accessory reviews coming in soon. Wireless controllers, an arcade stick, new Joy-Cons and stuff like that. So be sure to hit that notification bell to stay up to date and check out the video when they drop. And without further ado, let's dive in RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures for the Nintendo Switch. The launch of the latest entry in the long-running series back in mid-December of last year was somewhat overshadowed by some heavy hitters like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Sega Genesis classics, Gear Club Unlimited 2 and Katamari Damacy Reroll. However, it didn't dampen my spirits for it, as I had it locked on my radar ever since the announced Kickstarter campaign, which actually did take me by surprise when it was first announced. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, as it will permeate throughout the majority of this review. Frame rate drops, loading times and game freezes. The Nintendo Switch is, for better or worse, a handheld system. I know, Nintendo, home console first, but handheld nonetheless. And with that come limitations, but there is no reason why RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures should run as poorly as it does at times. Yes, I'm looking at you, Nvizzio. Admittedly, the game runs significantly better once docked, but I prefer playing whilst commuting on a daily basis. The initial loading times when starting a new park or continuing a save file are long enough as they are, with which I'm quite okay, provided that in-game load times are kept to a minimum, which is not always the case. RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures knows 4 gameplay modes: the tutorials, adventure or career mode, various scenarios to play through, and a classic sandbox in which you can go wild without limitations. If you're new to the series, or if you've been out of the running for some time, it might be best starting with some tutorials, which are rather short and snappy. In the first part of the tutorials, you'll be shown the basics from moving the camera around, something which is actually a lot more fun to do using the Switch's touchscreen controls, how to start building your theme park, from connecting various buildings through an intricate network of roads and paths, to decorating your park with flower beds and statues and everything in between. Of particular importance are the utility services, information center, restrooms, janitor station and the mechanic, if you ever want to achieve any sort of success in this game. Unlike some earlier entries in this series, this version works in zones, and by that I mean that the mechanic or janitor will only be operative in a restricted number of tiles. Likewise, a piece of decoration can only improve the quality of a certain area, which makes planning your parks a lot of fun. Additionally, you will learn the basics of understanding the way to becoming a tycoon. Consult your heat maps, goals and regularly check up on your permits to adapt to your visitors' desires and build bigger and better. The last key to success, unless you're playing around in the unlimited sandbox, is the research section. A feature I particularly like, as it regulates the speed with which you grow your park in a rather realistic way. Obtaining higher permits allow you to unlock more attractions and services to research. And once the research is completed, you can build to your heart's, or rather, wallet's content. I recommend going through the tutorial for building, editing and understanding roller coasters, as this is a large part of the game. The editor itself is quite rudimentary and filled with a ton of options to adjust your creations just the way you want them to be. You can move around the nodes making up your roller coasters horizontally, vertically, tilting them to create some corkscrews. You can turn each section into a special feature depending on the type of roller coaster: wooden, steel, winged, hyper, inverted, dive or accelerator. And you can adjust the type of carriage and station to theme them according to your taste. Typically, I start off using any of the template coasters and adjust them to my liking by pumping up the intensity, excitement and inadvertently the nausea level. Compare it to the previous test results and continue expanding your park. The adventure mode will have you going through the game at the hand of an advisor, and if you're planning on skipping the tutorial mode, this is the best point to learn the ropes. Build and expand your theme park, spend on your research, take or dismiss your advisor's suggestions, and explore the many aspects of this game. As in each mode, you will have to select your basis theme or environment, from the flowery forest to the calming canyon, and from the inspiring island all the way to the marvelous moon. Note that this initial selection determines not only the overall look of your park, but also the music running in the background, and this game features some magical tracks for sure, but also your initial decorations theme. If you are enjoying this mode but want to throw off the training wheels completely, simply move over to the sandbox where everything goes. Here you have to choose between the creative and career rules. Personally, I use the creative mode to try out a few things, new strategies and the like, or simply to see how several attractions look, as you can build with an endless line of credit and literally everything is unlocked from the start. And here it becomes a bit puzzling to me, as RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures does not support the use of the capture button, either for screenshots or for screen recording of videos. Guys, this is one of the best games to make use of it, as every single person playing this game makes something completely different. This is what social media thrives on. Do you remember Super Mario Maker? Those clips went viral and everyone was sharing their creations online. This game could benefit so much from that support. And speaking of sharing, how about adding in an option to exchange your theme parks with other Switch users, either locally or through an online component? There is so much content in this game, but likewise, there is so much untapped potential. There are a ton of scenarios for you to break your head over, and some of these do provide quite a challenge. Whilst the goals are pretty straightforward, some will take quite some time before you can clasp your hands around that gold cup. Fortunately, you can speed up the game as per your desire to reach that goal that much faster. Just be sure to keep an eye on the prices of your attractions, as they tend to become overpriced rather quickly. Something not limited to the scenario gameplay mode though. The older an attraction becomes, the less people will want to pay for it, forcing you to either lower the price or eventually replace it entirely. A fun little exercise in economics by balancing out your break-even point. Although for most people the sandbox will be the way to play this game, as it offers literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay, I like going through these scenarios as they force you to try out different strategies. Take for example the fundraising fund. In this case, all of your attractions are free rides, and yet you are to make money, and building anything still costs money. This requires a different approach to building your theme park and, in effect, more patience, as shops and restaurants generally generate less income than do your roller coasters and other rides. Save for some performance issues, RollerCoaster Tycoon looks very attractive. On the big screen running at 1080p or undocked at 720, it really is a visual treat. From the menus, which actually load rather quick in themselves, to moving through your park, there's more than enough detail, color and flavors to convey that unique feeling of excitement limited to theme parks. RollerCoaster Tycoon Adventures for the Nintendo Switch is somewhat of a peculiar case. Sure enough, the game does offer hundreds of hours of fun-filled theme park building, and a lot of fun it is. There are hundreds of rides, restaurants, shops and other amenities for you to choose from, and dozens of pieces of decoration to turn your theme park into an absolute marvel. But at the same time, the game does suffer from recurring performance issues, and there is just a well of untapped potential here. Honestly, I find it hard to justify the $49.99 the game comes for, and I think a price drop to about $40 would do more justice to potential buyers. But if you can look past the aforementioned issues and are just looking for a theme park building game, then you know you can rely on this franchise. And let's face it, building the park of your dreams, seeing it grow bigger and better while sitting on the bus or waiting for your plane to take off, using the Joy-Con controls and the Switch's touchscreen, or a combination of both, I prefer to play that way. That is really cool, and that's quite unique to this version. As someone who likes discussion, I am very much interested in your opinion about this game, and I would love to see any of your creations. Maybe we can share some of them through any of these social media channels or blog. But in any case, be sure to drop a comment in the section down below. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed this review, and I will see you next time.